Hello everybody and welcome to another instalment of Jono's Graveyard Jaunts. If you are enjoying the content of the channel so far, can I please ask you to like and subscribe so the channel can grow and we can venture further afield to ever more interesting places. Whether you are or have ever been a serious casual or indeed a recreational cigarette smoker and you are of a certain age, this person's name will resonate with you. And again, if you're a fan of motor racing, and you have to be a certain age to remember this, the colours of black and gold livery associated with this brand that used to be advertised on Formula 1 cars owned by the Lotus team before there was a blanket ban on advertising this product in this sport will again be forever imprinted in your memory. And yes, we are of course talking about the cigarette pioneer John Player. In March of 1820, William Wright set up a small tobacco factory in Craigshill, Livingston, West Lothian, Scotland. Now the business expanded and earned Wright a comfortable fortune, and John Player in turn bought the business in 1877. John Player himself was actually born in Saffron, Walden in Essex in 1839. Now the first picture shows where the county of Essex sits in relation to the UK, and the second picture shows the village of Saffron Walden where John Player was actually born. He in turn came to Nottingham in 1862 and worked as a draper's clerk. And again the first picture shows where Nottingham County sits in relation to the UK, and the second picture shows where Nottingham city centre sits in relation to the county of Nottinghamshire itself. A few years later, he set himself up in a shop in Beastmarket Hill in Nottingham, where he acted as an agent for Prentice and Co agricultural manures and seeds. He also sold pre-wrapped tobacco from the shop, and as it proved to be so popular, it soon became his main business. And it was during the early 1860s that John Player married Ann Goodacre. They in turn had two sons together, John Dane Player and William Goodacre Player. John Player bought William Wright's tobacco factory in Broad Marsh, Nottingham. He also opened two more shops in Sheep Lane Market and in Broad Street. His business quickly expanded, and in 1881 he bought land in Radford and had three factories built on the site. The Castle Tobacco Factory was opened in 1884 in one of the factories. The two remaining factories were leased out to a number of lace manufacturers, but by 1900 tobacco was being manufactured on all three sites. Now factory number 2 was completed in 1932 and consisted of 250,000 square feet, and this factory continued to make cigarettes until the 1970s when the business moved to their new site in Lenton called Horizon. John Player died in 1884 from liver cancer, and for the next 9 years the business was run by a small group of family friends until William and John Player were ready to take over the firm in 1893. Now the business itself became a private limited company in 1895 with a share capital of £200,000. And this map shows an aerial shot of Nottingham City Cemetery where John Player's grave is located, denoted by the blue rectangle on the map, and he's also buried here with his wife Anne. In 1901, a powerful association of American tobacco manufacturers launched an attack on the British tobacco market, and in an effort to protect their businesses, 13 British tobacco manufacturers joined together to form a single company, and this company was called the Imperial Tobacco Company. Although the 13 firms became branches of the Imperial Tobacco Company, they continued to trade under their own names and competed with each other for business. And at the formation of the new company, William and John Player, i.e. John Player's two sons, were invited to join the board of directors. 2/3 of all cigarettes sold in Britain were Players, and 2/3 of these were branded as Player's Medium Navy Cut. And in January of 1937, Player sold nearly 3.5 million cigarettes, which included 1.34 million in London itself. Now Player's Medium Cut was the most popular by far of the Navy Cut brands, There was also mild and gold leaf, mild being today's rich flavour. The popularity of the brand was mostly amongst the middle classes and in the south of England. It was smoked in the north, but other brands were locally more popular. World War II interrupted Player's growth with restrictions on tobacco imports affecting the quality of the cigarettes Player was able to produce. And in such a situation, the company had to limit production of its leading brands and produce alternatives using inferior quality tobacco. Now, following the war, Player's fortunes were more mixed. After wartime restrictions were lifted, the company enjoyed strong sales during the mid-1950s, but as smoking taste began to change, the company started to lose ground to its competitors. Production continued to grow until at its peak in the late 1950s, Players was employing 11,000 workers compared to 5,000 in 1926 and producing 15 brands of pipe tobacco and 11 brands of cigarettes. And in the UK in 1968, in response to an increase in tobacco duty in the budget, Players launched a new, cheaper brand entitled Players No. 10, priced at the then 3 shillings 16 pence. For it was 20, it was the cheapest cigarettes on the British market. On November the 1st, 1972, the cigarette and tobacco manufacturer John Player & Sons opened its new factory. Named Horizon and situated on an industrial estate in Lenton in Nottinghamshire, the building and the machinery it contained cost a combined £15 million at the time. At its peak, the business employed more than 7,000 people, making over a staggering 52 billion cigarettes each year. This was a substantial investment, and the factory's scale reflected Player's then position as one of the largest tobacco manufacturers in Britain. On the 15th of April 2014, Imperial Tobacco announced that the Horizon factory would close in early 2016 as production was moving overseas, bringing an end to cigarettes and tobacco manufacture in Nottingham after over 130 years. Players still trades, but with a much reduced workforce, down to about 700 employees due to increased efficiency. It is no longer one of Nottingham's big 3 employers, the other 2 being Boots the Chemist and Experian. In the 1950s America, cigarette smoking was the epitome of cool and glamour. Hollywood icons such as James Dean and Humphrey Bogart were never without a cigarette in any picture. Screen beauties such as Audrey Hepburn and Marlene Dietrich made smoking look sensual and sophisticated. Even future President Ronald Reagan was handed 3 packs of Chesterfield during his B-movie days. By the late 1950s, around half of the population of industrialised nations smoked. In the UK, up to 80% of adults were hooked, as the product was cheap, legal and socially acceptable. Cigarettes were originally sold as expensive handmade luxury goods for the urban elite. It was not until mass production methods coupled with aggressive marketing that the industry began to see off traditional pipe smoking and tobacco chewing habits, particularly in the United States. American tobacco firm Philip Morris was particularly adept at marketing its cigarettes. It gave us the chiselled looking Marlboro man who declared, "For man's flavour, come to Marlborough County." Other brands also sought to allay fears of smoking. Camel famously ran an advert saying, and I quote, "More doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette." But as early as 1951, pioneering work by UK scientist Dr. Richard Dole made a link between lung cancer and smoking. And still for years after, the tobacco industry appeared to be invincible. Hi guys, so here we are at Nottingham General Cemetery, not to be confused with Church Rock Cemetery. And if you see that beautiful white building there, that's the entrance on Alfreton Road. So you're driving through a really elaborate archway. There are almshouses either side, and we'll just show you where the grave is. So we're going to get some footage of the cemetery because it's quite amazing. So we're just coming up. This is just a reference. If you do want to visit the grave, it will save you a few quid for looking at deceased online, because it's quite hidden, the grave. So here we are. Remember this, area here. So you're driving in the main gates and it's on your left hand side. You'll go down a hill and we'll show you where the grave is, because it's very well hidden and somewhat overgrown now. So just look at some of these beautiful, ornate and elaborate headstones. So remember, this is not church, but rather Nottingham General Cemetery, and it's the final resting place of John Player, who founded John Player Cigarettes, and his wife Ann Goodacre. So just remember this bit here, guys, where you come in off Alfreton Road through that very elaborate, it's really a cream coloured building with almshouses either side, and you can park here, and then we go down a hill now. Just show you, get some of these grave footage, because they're absolutely beautiful. This is the first time I've been here. So we go down the hill just here, and it's on the left hand side, and we have to go off the track. So John Player then, whether you are an advocate of smoking or whether you're anti, I think we would all agree that he provided much needed and steady employment for the people of Nottingham, employing up to 7,000 people at his peak. The business did. And look at this amazing stone here. The gimbal's doing its own thing. So we're just going down this hill, guys, and it's on the left hand side. So getting back to John Player then, whether you, as I say, whether you agree with smoking or not, he did provide valuable employment for up to 7,000 people. So he was a great industrialist, and I think he should be remembered for that. So this is where we are, guys. So if you remember this grave here, Whitworth, that's a reference point for you. So we have to go into the undergrowth now to find his grave. As I say, it's very well hidden and it's somewhat overgrown now. And here we are, John Player's grave. I'll just read what I can. In loving memory of John Player, 30th, 1839, died December, I think that's 9th, 1884. So that's John Player. And if we just pan back a bit, there's a grave next to it. I don't think that's any, it might be, it looks like it might be, but I don't know who the family is. It's not got the Player name, Evans. It might be their family relatives or somebody else. So again, if we look at this side now, we've got Ann Goodacre. We can read that. Ann Player, wife of John Player. So there we are, guys, the final resting place. So this is where it is, and I'll just show you again the location so we know where it is. So it's hidden fairly well back here. So that's the grave, the final resting place. Rest in peace, John and Ann.